Hello, everybody. So next week is St. Patrick's Day, so I'm doing Irish soda bread. But if you've been watching me at all, you know I don't like to do things normally. So I am doing two different kinds. I'm doing the more authentic kind of dense kind of soda bread that they would have done back in Ireland. And then I'm also doing the Americanized version, which is the sweet bread that a lot of people know. There's a lot of contention about which is the right one and what you should make. So I'm making both. Okay, I'm going to start with the easier one. It only has 6 ingredients. So Irish soda bread is not a yeasted bread. It is a quick bread, and it uses baking soda to be leavened. So it's not sitting out. Nothing has to activate and rise. It's just the baking soda that is going to make it rise a little bit. Okay, so here we go. This one, I have an Irish style flour, which you can see a little bit that it has kind of little bits in it. It's bits of oat, bits of different kind of wheat. So it's a little more texture to it. It's a very light flour actually, but it does have more texture, more akin to kind of a wheat flour. So I'm going to take this, and it also uses regular all-purpose flour. So I'm going to sift this, and this is the salt and baking soda. So it's, I think, a teaspoon of each of those. I'm going to sift it in. And then from here, we're going to take the butter. It's 2 tablespoons of butter that's cold, and going to rub it into the flour with my fingers so that it kind of creates that coarse texture we've been doing a lot of. So this, and just gonna mix together those flours. I wouldn't be able to put the Irish flour through the sifter just because it does have those thicker chunks to it, and I don't want to lose those. So I'm just sifting everything in and then mixing it up. Okay. And I'll put in the flour, the butter into the flour. Right, and then smushing it all together. This is actually going to be really fast because we're almost done. After I get this butter incorporated, we're going to take the buttermilk. They say you can also use yogurt, part yogurt, and milk if you don't have buttermilk. But I have my buttermilk culture, so for both of these recipes, I do have buttermilk. You can also use soured milk, which is taking some vinegar or lemon juice and putting it into the milk, letting it sit for a few minutes, and it kind of thickens up a bit. It sours the milk a bit. So you could do any of those if you wanted to as well. All right, so that butter is pretty well incorporated. And if you can see, just kind of little tiny pebbles of butter in there. Missed a chunk though. All right, so then I'm just going to make a well in the center and pour in the buttermilk. This one is 1 1/4 cups. So here it is. All right. And I'm just going to take the fork and mix it all in. So I'm just taking a fork around the side and bringing that loose flour down into the middle and then mixing it in. It's not a fancy technique or anything I'm doing. I'm just trying to get it incorporated. You can see it's coming together. Okay, I'm going to get my hands in there now. Ooh, actually a lot softer than I thought it would be. And it only wants a couple minutes of kneading. It doesn't want a whole lot. I'm going to take these off. Because it's a quick bread. It's really simple. You're not trying to really create or activate the gluten in there too much. Just trying to get it mixed together. Okay, and then I'm going to take some flour up here. Lightly dust. Turn it out onto here. And finish incorporating that. It's going to be a lot easier on the countertop to get that mixed in because we can use different kneading techniques, but it's hard when you're in a bowl. Kind of limits your movement. All right. There we go. And it's supposed to be a dense, hearty dough. So it's fine. I know it feels a bit dry, but that's kind of, I think, why it was Americanized for American taste buds with a lot of sugar and sweeteners, which we'll be doing that one in just a minute. So, okay, almost done here. Just want to get it a little bit smoother. I'm getting rid of all those dry pockets. And that buttermilk is soaking into the flour. So it takes time, especially with more of a whole wheat kind of flour. It takes time to absorb the moisture. We're almost there. You can see it's still pretty crumbly, or just kind of dense, and it comes apart easily. But that's what you want for this kind of a bread. So I'm just going to finish kneading this a little bit. And then you want it to be about 6 inches wide when you shape it. Flatten it out. And a couple inches deep. So about 2 inches deep. But you're just going to kind of press it into this shape. Right. So there's that and that. Next part is I'm going to take a knife and cut that signature cross shape in the top. So you want to cut about 1 inch deep. I'm going to start here, cut across, and here, and cut across. And I did forget one step. I need to flour the top first. Because when it does open up, you'll have a nice, there we go, lightly flour, top off the excess. And then when it opens up, you'll have a nice difference of color, hopefully. All right. Now, for this, I preheated the oven to 400 and I put in a cast iron pan so it could preheat with it. So this is like a very hot, ow, okay, very hot. I'm just going to put this into the middle of it and pop it in the oven 35 minutes. I'm going to clean up a little bit and then we'll get to the sweeter one. So this is more like a cake. This has an egg in it. This has baking soda and baking powder. More milk. This doesn't have any whole wheat flour. It's just all purpose. And usually it's raisins and currants, but I don't have currants. We had raisins and craisins, so dried cranberries. So I'm going to put those both into this. Okay, here we go. This one goes into a little loaf pan. So I already just kind of sprayed that down really quickly. All right, let's see. Whisk together flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt. Okay, so almost everything. Okay, so here is, and this was weird. Has a lot more baking powder than it does baking soda. So again, it's more cakey. So baking powder, then baking soda, salt, and this is a heaping half cup of sugar. Heaping. Sugar goes in, and okay, so that's the raisins and that. Whisk. So far with this recipe, I don't agree with putting the dried fruit in yet. I would probably do all of the other dry ingredients, get them mixed together well, and then put those in and mix it, but it's not a big deal. I think my whisk just has not a lot of space in between, so it kind of alters how I whisk with it. Okay, and then in a separate bowl or measuring cup, I'm going to use the buttermilk and the egg. Let's see here. And then I'm going to quickly and gently stir the wet ingredients into the dry. So you know what? I'm going to pause here, wait for this one to come out of the oven, and then we'll continue this. We'll have our wet ingredients here, and there's melted butter, and the dry here. So I don't want to mix them together until right before I put it in the oven. So I'll see you soon. Okay, so this just came out of the oven, so I wanted to show you what it looks like. So this is the more traditional style. And you want it to sound hollow when you knock on the bottom of it. Let's see if I can get this. Oh man, hot. Okay, so see if you can hear. It sounds hollow, like there's nothing really inside, but it's actually going to be, I think, really nice. Okay, but we have to let it cool. So I'm going to put it on the wire rack back here and cover it with a towel while it cools. There's that. And this is just so that the moisture doesn't escape too quickly. It's just going to help keep that in and keep it tender. Okay, so now we can finish up this other dough. So we have all the dry ingredients with the dried fruit, and then I'm going to take the egg and crack it into the buttermilk. And mix it together. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to quickly and gently stir the wet ingredients into the dry. So this doesn't say to make a well or anything, it just says to stir it in. And gently. So this again is not wanting to create gluten. This is more kind of like a cake. So we don't want to over stir and over mix. We just want to get it all together here. And then we're going to put it into our loaf pan. You can see it's like a batter. It's not a dough. So I'm gonna mix this. Let's make sure all the stuff is off the bottom. And to do that without over mixing it, I'm just gonna grab my spatula here. Scrape that off. Okay. And then I'm just going to kind of make sure everything's folded in from the bottom. I'm just gonna go from the bottom up and around. Okay, that is thoroughly mixed. So now going to spoon it into the pan, but I'm going to use the spatula and get it in. So already, I mean, this is a far cry from what the original actual Irish soda bread is. This is more from what it looks like to me right now. It's more kind of a fruitcake, but we will see. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I hope I didn't by saying that, because I know this is a big tradition and I don't have anything against it. I'm just going for what the most authentic is. And I think this is going to be really delicious though. So now it says to, I don't really want to put my finger around the edge. I'm supposed to create a moat so that I can put the milk and the sugar on. Okay, I'm going to do it. It's a little mucky, but so I'm going to put my finger around this whole edge here to kind of create a raised area so that the milk doesn't go on the like down the sides of the thing. Okay. You don't mind getting messy with this stuff. This one's just a little weird. All right, I'm going to put the milk. Okay. I'm going to use my finger to spread it out because I didn't do too great of a job of putting it in. And then I have some coarse sugar here. And I'm just going to sprinkle that. And there we go. Okay, and then this is going to go in for 15 minutes to 1 hour until the cake tester comes out clean. Cake, see? Okay. Interior will be between 200 and 210. So normally we look for about 190 to 195 when we're doing breads, when we use the thermometer. So you want to poke into the middle of the bread. So this is actually going to be more of a cake kind of temperature, 200 to 210. Okay, so they're both out of the oven now. This one turned out really pretty. Looks kind of like a pound cake. See the sugar on top, and it's still pretty dense, but cakey. And I got it up to 204 was the internal temperature before I took it out of the oven. It sat for about 5 minutes, and then I took it out of the loaf pan, and now it's just been cooling. So it's still a little bit warm, but we're going to cut it open and taste it. I'm going to start with this one. So color turned out really nice on it, actually. All right, here we go. Yeah, it's very dense, but that's kind of what you're expecting when you don't have many ingredients. It just kind of, it's there for sustenance. And there's the... Hello, everyone. This is future Cassandra here. Apparently, when I went back to edit everything together, I realized that past Cassandra had accidentally leaned on the record button, I guess. So all of the taste test and everything was not recorded. So I wanted to come back and kind of do a little bit of a recap. Basically, I was showing you the crumb of the Irish, the authentic bread, and it was really dry. The flavor is really good with that Irish flour. It's really nice because it's earthy, and it has a lot of flavor to it, but the texture is very dry. And this is a little bit later now, and you can see, I mean, it still is tearing apart pretty nicely, but it should be used with something that is more kind of a liquid food. If you're doing soup or something like that, or steamed cabbage, or those kind of things are going to go really well with this because the flavor is very nice. But this bread was meant to be sustenance and to fill whoever was eating it. So it's not so much about having a great texture. It is very filling, and that is its purpose. As far as the American style goes, again, it is cake. It was really good, very sweet with that over half a cup of sugar. But see if I can hold it up here. And you can see all of this, the dried fruit stayed near the top and is dispersed throughout, which is great. And The flavor is really good, but it's not a bread per se. I would kind of say this is akin to a pound cake, but I mean, the kids loved it because it's kind of like a dessert. So they're both really good in their own right. It just kind of depends really on what your tradition is, what your meal is going to be, if you're having this more for after the dinner or if you're having it with dinner. So I would give them both a try if you're interested. And you can use whole wheat flour instead of doing the Irish flour. There are a lot of different ways to do it. But happy St. Patrick's Day, and I hope that you enjoy the Irish soda bread and the holiday. And I'll see you next week.